Check, check. Maybe y'all can hear me now, I guess. Let me check my phone to see if it's playing some audio. So if you get some crazy feedback, that's what it is. So if you get some crazy feedback, that's what it is. Oh, there we go. Finally got my shit together, as you can see. Um, so I'm gonna completely. Oh no, I guess I'll just. It's only 3 minutes in, so I guess I'll just go from here with it. But anyways, finally got this shit together, and it was very annoying. Ugh, I don't know what's going on with my audio. It's a brand new computer, so I haven't had time. Well, I have had time to dick around with it, but I haven't had the motivation to dick around with it. And to dick around with it, I gotta actually go live a few times to do it because I don't have an audio feedback source for streaming. Um, that's a closed circuit, so I have to actually use YouTube or some other source to do it. So I just decided to go live on my computer to see what the hell I can do with it. So here we are. But anyways, um, the topic that I want to have a discussion with you guys with today, as you see on the screen, it is a look into programming. Um, I pretty much lost my steam on talking about it, but I'm going to give you guys what I got, and hopefully, it comes out to be a good stream. So, anyways, I was sitting here talking to my submissive, one of my submissives, and she was having a few issues with programming. Not the understanding of programming, but the prevalency of programming and how ingrained it is in our culture, everything we do. Everyone here in America, I can say probably for the most part, is programmed. A lot of people think of programming as something that they aren't themselves affected by, which is funny because that's what the programming wants you to think. The programming is majority of who you are, unfortunately. For the people who don't understand this concept that they are programmed, in what ways they are programmed. So I'm here to not only talk again about programming because I think it's a very fundamental thing to talk about, but I am also here again to explain what the programming looks like, where it comes from, um, who does the programming, that I still don't know. Um, I know that we can pass the programming on to our lineage. We can pass the program on to other people, relatives, but we are not necessarily the creators of the program in itself. Um, and I wanted to play a sound clip for you guys on a another. He's an artist. He's a what do you call it? He's a poet, I guess you can say. Um, and I want to go over a few things with you guys in regards to what he said. His name is, um, hold on, let me look it up. I think his name is Prentice Powell, and um, he made a poem called "The System." Um, this was my first personal look into what programming is, what it does to you, um, where it comes from, and how it affects you. A lot of things that we believe are our own words. We believe these are our own, um, preferences, likes and dislikes. Most of it's not, unfortunately. But you can change that. There is a way to change that, and that is to understand that you do have a problem, and the problem is the programming. That's the first step to this. The second step is choosing to do what you want to do with your life from that point on and realizing that you have been programmed for a long period of time. I'll give you guys an example of how early and how potent the programming is for everyone here. Um, there was a study, and a lot of people think this is not a good indicator for programming, and it was like a mixed up study. But there is a study that went over children's programming, in my opinion. But they used it. I think even the people who created the test didn't understand the scope of what programming was. They used euphemisms to explain it, to say that these children were socially affected into believing something that isn't inherently true. And that study was, of course, the Dow test. Um, that's where they gave, various gradients of colored into non-colored people, um, or children, dolls, and they gave it to them, and they asked them, what can you tell me about this doll? And of course, the dolls were described in such a way that it was a clear indication that skin color has something to do with the character of a person. Now, these were very young children. Um, that's just a indicator of what the program is and what it can do. These are, once again, very young children. So imagine that if these children are programmed at this young of an age, how much you're programmed. I mean, yes, we all make the running case of racism in America has been a point of contention to whisk away any accountability that programming could have. But it's a wider scope than that. I was just using that as an example. But for the most part, it it it's everything. It's damn near everything. Um, but anyways, I was having this conversation with my submissive, and she was having problems with conceptualizing how deep the programming was. And I gave her an example of brushing your teeth. Um, one would think brushing your teeth is programming because you do it every day. But brushing your teeth is pretty cognitive thing to do, for most people. From my experience, I can't speak for everyone, but for most people, it's a very cognitive thing to do, meaning that you you think consciously about brushing your teeth, because it's something that you can do it on autopilot, but when you don't do it, you recognize that you didn't do it. That's the difference. Whereas with programming, it's something that you do on autopilot that you're not even aware of, consciously, of why you're doing it. If you do not have a reason and rationality to explain some of the behaviors that you display, um, these are things that you may feel guilty about, that you may feel bad about, that you may feel proud of. Irregardless, if you do not have a rational explanation for exactly what compelled you to do whatever it is that you're doing, then it's probably programming. Um, and that's prevalent in the programming ranges, and there's different types of program for different types of people. Not all programs are meant to do the same. But anyway, I'm going to play this clip, and I'm going uh, to talk probably during it and after it and all that good stuff like that. But this is by a guy named Prentice Powell, and it's called The System. Um, and hopefully you guys can hear this.
Spoken word champion Prentice Powell.
Turn it up. My speakers suck in this. Matter of fact, oops, I'm actually going to play it on my phone. It's kind of weird. My speakers are better on my phone than they are on my actual laptop. People would say this is a crappy laptop. I probably would too, but it costs money. Uh, anyway, so without further ado, I don't like that version.
I'm scared what to tell my kids, y'all. We live in a system that's designed for us to fail, and I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to tell them. When they get older, they're going to face a system that tells them there is no you.
And that's the key. There is no you. I think he's a brilliant artist for creating this. I don't know if he did it intentional, but there are several ways that you can take this. There are several points of views that you can take this. Hopefully, you take this in a way that I am trying to relay it to you. Though it is entertainment, this is a serious conversation that I'm having with you. Um, the there is no you. There is no you. You think that there is a you, but there is no you. Um, but anyways, let's continue.
There is only who I want you to be. From your latest cell phones to the style seen in your most recent videos to my implementation of what you call swag. If you can't brag about how many women you have or the $200 denim on your butt, you are worthless. Your purse is not hot if it is a fall edition and we are in the winter. And as long as your kids have Jordans on their feet, it is okay if they have to eat top ramen for a week for dinner. Your check is in the mail. You fail at becoming grown men, so you don't bother with your younger ones. Give them to me. I'll program them to Viacom. Have them growing up with a single mom and extensive rap sheets and ADD with no off switch and download a defense that is nothing but false self-confidence shown through them being overly aggressive.
Shown through them being overly aggressive. That's just part of the programming. We often say that machismo is a cornerstone of masculinity, but it's not always. It's not. But anyway, let's continue.
Your misguided women want nothing but diamonds and Fendi, or dreams of finding a professional athlete to pay for their lives because to them being a wife is not a lifestyle, it is trendy. Trendy to have like a little black dog carried around in a bag. The deconstruction of your black woman and man are going according to plan. Flip the coin, and for those who have chose not to go down that road, make sure that any statement they make that may challenge their masculinity are followed by statements of insecurity. We can't have them thinking for themselves.
That's the key of it. Can't have them thinking for themselves. That means that the program is meant for you to think that you are thinking for yourself. But the program is also really doing the work of controlling you and doing its bidding. But anyway, let's continue.
Program dreams to be a mirage. Close enough to see, yet too far to reach. Set aesthetics too pathetic, aka camouflage. Allow them to blend in. Keyword trend. Downtown corners full of rappers who refuse to give up even though their stuff sucks, but will allow them to say their piece. At the very least, it'll make them a quick buck. Any more success initiate operation exploitation. Throw them a bit more cash. I am the system. Programmed to initiate commands. You Negroes, error, you people are programmed not to ask. Empty vessels who have sold their souls a long time ago, and you call me robotic. I am the system. Systematically set to just do. You are systematically set to just do and not think, and you call me robotic.
You are systematically programmed to just do and not think. That's another key as well. That's the reason why I say that the programming is a lot more deeper than what you think it may be. You're not acting as yourself. I mean, a lot of people think that their preferences are their own. A lot of people think that their biases are their own. These are adoptions that you have taken up from a larger range of programming. But let's continue.
Error, redundancy, error, repeat, error, redundancy, error, repeat. Pardon me. I was scanning your culture's current popular music. You want a cop to pay for killing one of you, but carry a no snitching policy in your own community, which allows you Negroes, error, you Negroes, error, you Negroes, error, you people to have absolutely no accountability. Irony overload, reset. I am the system, systematically set to desensitize your senses, senseless activity surrounds your society, simultaneously making you love me while shaking in your boots. And for those who dare to overthrow me, allow me to remind thee, 'tis I who provides you with the land and seeds you use to grow your little grassroots. I am the system.
Like he said, I am the system. Not me, but the system. The system doesn't have a face. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a origin. Um, a direct origin. No one knows exactly where it came from. There are a few people who understand what I'm talking about, what the thing I'm trying to get at. There are only a handful of people who understand this. Everyone else are programmed to a high degree. Um, it's unfortunate. I am a dominant not because this is what I choose to be, because that's what you become once you understand that you no longer want to take part in what the program is telling you to do. Um, the program is meant to benefit the programmer, the one who programmed, who made the program. I've said this plenty of times. The program is not meant to benefit the ones who are programmed so much. It's not meant for that. It's meant directly to suit the the system that created the program, should I say. So you always have to look at the reason why you do things. This is a very key indicator in telling you that if what you're doing is programmed or not. There are a lot of things that we believe, once again, that are our consciousness, that are the things that we call our preferences and our biases, the things that we like and dislike. But a lot of that is programming. You have to really think deep down within yourself. Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you operate the way that you do? Because if you come up with a lot of blanks, and I'm not saying that they're just things that people do, on autopilot all the time. What I'm saying is that if you reach an emotional state, or you reach situations that you've gotten yourself into, but you necessarily don't understand why this is happening, then you're engaging in program behavior. I've done this myself plenty of times. It's almost like, I don't know if I said this before, but it's almost like, um, hey, what's going on, Judge? Michael West says, ever listen to the interview with the devil? No, I haven't listened to it. And that's the thing about the knowledge that I understand. I'll tell you guys a little bit of history about myself. And it's not anything that's super detailed, but to explain why I understand what I understand. There was a point in my life where I went through some very great hardships. I've been deployed several times, but nothing compared to this hardship that I went through. Um, it was very devastating. It shattered everything that I believe was true. It 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 destroyed who I thought I was. What's going on, Double C? It showed me that what I thought I was doing and who I thought I was wasn't the truth. It was, and the thing of it is, it was meant to create power. It was meant to create energy for the system that I was engaging in. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I mean, I'm sure this probably sounds really strange to you guys. I'm pretty sure it does, because I've explained this to random people and they look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want to sound like one of those crazy conspiracy theorists that thinks that, there are aliens living next to him, and, there are lizard people living under the ground. No, I'm not one of those guys at all. I'm a very cognitive person. I live in the reality, and, the things that I see, I understand them to be tangible. So I'm not going off of hypotheses and things that I assume maybe, but really don't have too much proof of. Maybe some little stupid clips here and there. No, these are things that you can see within your own life. You ever been through? Because I was just telling my submissive. Matter of fact, she's sitting right here. Say what's up.
Hey, what's up, guys?
But I was telling her, about the things that we go through. Due to the fact that we all are programmed, the system has also created programs within itself to stump down people who want to break free of their programming. And this come by as way of this is what we see in the black community as well, but it's come by way of reinforcement of lulling you back to sleep. So, for instance, you ever notice that when something devastating happens to you, or you know, something bad may happen to you, there's always someone around. And I'm not saying that that just because someone's genuinely interested in seeing you do better, that this is the case, but um, it is still part of the program nonetheless. It kind of indistinguishable to the naked eye, to people who don't understand this, but I'm pointing this out to you right now. But for people who have been through things, you ever notice that there's always somebody around who says, "Oh, everything will be all right. Things will get better, and all you gotta do is keep your head up." Why is that? I mean, I get it. I mean, I get it that this is something that we understand socially to be something that is socially acceptable to say to someone. But at the end of the day, it's I believe, in my personal opinion, it's meant to lull you back to sleep, because that that trauma that you go through is actually what brings you out of that programming, because there are things that happen to you in your life that you know are really, like I said, devastating, and they always have uh, this cliche thing to say. I often say, two things: that if you see something over and over again, then it's true. And I don't necessarily mean that it's true in the way that you should be agreeance with it, but it's true that it exists. And I also say that um, if you see something socially over and over again, it's programming, because that is not individuality. Individuality is doing something that is differently than what everyone else is doing. There are some things that are fundamentally socially expected of us due to the fact that we're human. But when it comes to the higher levels of um, uh, sociology and how people interact in a group, when you start to see the trend that things are drone like, they're robotic like over and over again, um, that's social programming. This goes back to the Dow test that I was talking about. That how is it that these young children understand? They don't understand necessarily what the programming is, but they understand how to execute the program. So the program is very simple, but it's not meant. It's also sophisticated, but is not meant to be able to be articulated in such a way that it would tell the viewers of the program that it is the program talking. That's the reason why the children, after they were asked, "Why do you believe that a darker dial is um, inherently bad?" and they couldn't explain why. That's a common thing that you'll see when it comes in regards to programming. That people will do things. They will do very dysfunctional things, and things that are not good for them and the peers around them. And you ask them, why did you do that? They come up with some shitty excuse, or they have no excuse at all, and they say, you know what, you know I just felt like that's what I wanted to do. Or they try to scapegoat it. There's no accountability in accepting the programming, and also not having an explanation is, of course, no accountability. But my point of saying all this is that I would be cognitive of what you do and how you're doing it and why you're doing it. That is the first indicator of understanding what the programming is. But anyways, I'm gonna get back to um, me and my trauma that I went through. But I've been through a lot of stuff in my lifetime. Like I said, I've been deployed several times. I've seen people killed. I've I've done things, and I have a history of my own, but none of this was as traumatic as um, understanding that the programming was prevalent. Hey, what's going on, Kendra? But none of this um, was good. True King 337 was good to everybody. Nameless protagonist was good with you. But when I went through the situation that I went through, it was so traumatic that it reset me in a such a way that I now had the opportunity to select a different programming, and I decided to select no programming, and I created myself to be what I am, which is considered dominant. That's the reason why I understand so much about dominance that has never been explained to me, because this is a natural way of existence, despite programming. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen this happen with other things, electronics, where there'll be something completely wrong with this electronic and it just shuts down. And then all of a sudden it comes back online and nothing's wrong with it again. That's kind of what happened to me. um, I was so devastated in the things that I went through in my life, um, and they shattered me so much so that it rooted me from the programming that I was under the influence of, which caused the overload in the first place. And then I woke up and I realized what was going on. And then I made the decision from that point forward to make sure that everything that I was doing and everything that I wanted to be, everything that I wanted to engage in was something that I cognitively made a choice to do. There are so many things that you don't understand when it comes to programming. Women are the most susceptible to programming because of their nature. It's just inherently so. Men not so much, because we oppose environments. But that's the problem that we're having now within the black community, if you want to call it that, is that the men are falling more susceptible to the same programming that the women have been susceptible to for hundreds of years. Um, and that's unfortunate. Uh, but anyways, to make this clear, be cognitive of what you do. Be cognitive of why you're doing it. If you're doing something or engaging in some type of behavior that could be potentially bad for you, I would implore you to stop what you're doing and think through it. And I'm not saying this as a PSA, or some after school special type shit. No, I'm saying it because it's so ingrained that you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And I hate to see people, go through this. It's almost like being awake and everyone's walking around daydreaming and sleeping, and you try to walk by and wake people up and nobody wants to listen, nobody wants to wake up, nobody wants to. It's disheartening, and I'm watching them, fleming themselves to death, just proverbially jump completely off the cliff, and they have no idea that that's what the program is programming you to do. Why do you think we have, such thing as judges, and all these divorce courts? And it's a system that's set up to create energy for itself. There are three things that are specific to programming. You have to have a system that creates a program, you have to have the programming, and you have to have the people who are programmed. I've said this several times. What's going on, Christopher Smith? But this is how you pick out what is real and what isn't. I mean, we talk about this whole matrix thing. We talk about this whole people being caught in the matrix, but the true matrix is being controlled by a program. That's exactly what the matrix represented. But people who say that they're red pill don't even understand that. That's part of the program too. You think the system didn't create something for you to say to make you feel like you're outside of the system? I mean, it's highly theorized that the matrix and the people outside of the matrix are still inside the matrix. That's the funny thing about it. Let's see. Kendra said the resetting is unfortunate in terms of how humans get reset, typically through sustained extreme trauma. To have an adult be reset means that trauma was nearly unimaginable. That is very true. Um, and I actually went to therapy for the trauma that I experienced. And some people believe that, because it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm not saying that the same level of trauma that you will go through um, will be the same trauma that another person has to necessarily go through in order to reach the point that you reached in response to ridding yourself of the program. The trauma is very subjective to the individual. It's almost like a fashion held for yourself. It's very particular to your fears and your nightmares. That's the reason why some people, are okay with the blue pill lifestyle and some people are not. And the opposite nightmares for those people would be people who want the blue pill lifestyle having to engage in a red pill lifestyle and vice versa. It's very subjective to the individual. But nonetheless, it is possible to rid yourself of the program. Like I said, there are plenty of people who are red pill who believe that they are not part of the program. You are. Thinking Man Templar actually touched on that a little bit yesterday. He came out with a video, explaining that there are a lot of magles and there are a lot of fake red pillars in the system, and they're choosing to talk about this SYSBM M stuff in such a way that it's watering down the purpose. That's because those men they're programmed to do that. That's exactly what they are. I mean, and I don't mean to look down on anyone, because once again, I came from a place where I was once programmed. But it takes some stuff to happen to you. And that's unfortunate because I don't know any other way out. Even me sitting here telling you that a lot of things that you're doing currently, and you may think that you're so in charge of why you do your things that you do, but you end up in these situations that you didn't foresee coming, and you're not programmed. Like, let's be realistic. I mean, I understand that definitely you cannot predict all outcomes, but devastation happens for a reason. You know, devastation devastation is really avoidable. It's very avoidable. I mean, we all know this. We all know that you know some amount of suffering is easily avoidable if you just disengage from things. But no, we roll the dice and hoping to have a large reward behind a low probability. That's what the program wants you to do because it needs you to generate energy for it. It needs you to generate um, fuckery because it lives off of it. I mean, why else would a whole large group of women engage in the same behavior if it didn't generate energy for the system that created the program for them to behave that way? Why? Why would it do that? Nothing is accidental. None of the stuff that you see, none of the things that you understand, nothing that you see on TV, all the programming, all the clubs, all the malls, all the everything is strategically placed because it is meant for to be the best way in optimization of programming you to believe something that is not true. And that's unfortunate because a lot of people buy into it. I mean, even me, I'm not completely um, immune to programming because the programming is lifetime. I mean, there are people who I've talked to older people, in their 80s and 90s, and they realized that the things that they were doing throughout their lives, they had been programmed to do those things. And once they came to the realization that this was a program and they didn't want to engage, they were too old to do anything about it. Too old. But anyway, let's see. The nameless protagonist said, um, that's what I mean when I say they haven't suffered enough. Yeah, that's what it is. Kendra said, in terms of the construct itself, a group of bred people are there to correct the system, even if even if it is razed to the ground and built again. The system itself, matrix, is necessary for humans. We're social, so we need social constructs to properly survive. I mean, I do agree with you. I mean, but that is part of the system. It's like cocaine, not necessarily for the properties that it gives you, but that it is a substance that is built to hijack a natural process of reward. Meaning that the system is it's so subtle, it makes you believe that you need these things in order to exist, that it hijacks the actual things that you need to exist. They are very similar, in my opinion. They are hard to notice, but like I said, one of the key indicators that you can figure out if you're being programmed is if you reach a point where you don't understand how you got there. You don't understand all. I mean, you can cognitively think back of all the bad mistakes that you made, but why did you make those mistakes in the first place? If the difference is that you had the understanding and the knowledge to avoid those situations but you didn't, that's programming. But if you had no clue, that could be semi-programming, because ignorance is definitely bliss in that aspect. I mean, because if I had known the things that I've known now when it comes to legal marriage, it would have never happened. So there's a certain level of programming that is cognitive and subconscious. I won't lie to you, but it is being hijacked. That's the problem. It is being hijacked to believe that we're catching on. I mean, the red pill space is definitely catching on to what the truth is. And notice that, you know, there are so many. I mean, how many gaming channels are there out there? There's like hundreds of gaming channels. You never see them make the news. Never. You never see them make the news. But somehow MGTOW made CNN News from a small group of people. That's what the programming is meant to do. I was also talking to my submissive about the people in the programming. They're what I consider drones. There are people who are highly programmed to seek out people to bring them back to sleep once they start to lull out of the fog that they're in when it comes to the programming. These are people who infiltrate your life and cause disruption to have you feed back into the system. You ever notice, this is why people are just, that's why SBM exists. Honestly, that's why. That's why. Because we have so many drones within the black community. We have so many drones that want you to feed into the programming so that you can keep the fuck shit going. That's exactly why. That's exactly why SYSBM exists. And I'm not, I don't like the bandwagon off of large topics. That's not why I'm bringing this topic to you. It just happened to be that I had a little time, and this was something that I was already discussing. And I said, I might as well turn it into a live stream. But this is why, and Angry Man said it too. He said this is why, or excuse me, BGS said it. Um, or Angry, I don't know. I listen to so many content creators, but you guys can take credit for your own work. But this is why it was said that, you know, um, SYSBM is a response to the fuckery. It is. That is always the case. And what these women are doing, they're using the same tactics. They're trying to shut it down. It's not you have to understand that they're not trying to shut it down not only to perpetuate it, but because they are programmed to do that, because they are drones. Drones seek out people who want to wake up. They seek out people who want to break free from the programming, and they do whatever they can to lull them back to sleep. That is their purpose. They are meant um, to cause disruption. They are meant to detract. I mean, it goes so much deeper, and it's so unfortunate, for me and everyone else, that I understand this on such an intrinsic level and very deeply in me. I mean, I can, like, I was just having a conversation with my submissive earlier, and just two word sentence, and I can say, no, that's programming. I mean, that's how good I am at this. That's how much I understand this. But it sucks that I can't really articulate this to you in the way that I want to. I'm trying my best, believe me. But um, you know, I'm going to actually probably put together montages again of programming. I'm going to explain. I have a lot of things that I want to do, just not the motivation, I guess. I mean, but people need to understand this. I think this is my greatest contribution to this space is bringing the knowledge to people so that they understand. That's the reason why I make all my fundamental videos, because those are the keys to recognizing the dysfunction within yourself so that you can start reprogramming yourself. And I don't mean reprogramming yourself necessarily to just take upon another program, aka ideology, but I'm talking about so that you can have autonomy from this shit. It's it's not it's disgusting to me for a person not to live their entire life and not make one decision for themselves. I mean, that sounds really strange, but it happens. It happens a lot. I mean, my question to you is, is the way that you're living currently the way you want to live? Is this how you see life? Is this how you want life to be? Is this the way that you want it to be? And if it's not, why aren't you changing it? Why? What's stopping you? But anyway, Christopher Smith says a lot of traumatic experiences bond to people. Unfortunately, they cannot see themselves without the trauma, so they just live with it. That is very correct. What's going on, David Monroe? The nameless protagonist says the fear being generated from SYSBM over the excuse me, and the oversimplification and projecting is literally mind-boggling. Christopher Smith says the mental gymnastics, not only in our community but seamlessly everywhere, is the Olympics level now. Yeah, I mean, you guys understand exactly what I'm saying, and I'm thankful for that. I'm very thankful that you guys understand where I'm coming from. Um, but the only way out is up. The only way out is the only way out is in too, and I mean that intrinsically. You know, you have to intrinsically look within yourself to get up and do something about it. Um, you have to understand. I mean, I don't know, the programming is so vast, and it's a very large system. I can't even tell you all of the things. I mean, I can only point them out um when I'm presented with them, and even sometimes even with my skills, I sometimes miss them. And I fall victim to them sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. But I make swift corrections once I start to understand what's going on. But the system is so vast that I can't always take an individual's account as them making moves for autonomy. I can't even see that sometimes. I mean, the system is so is it's so it's so it's so devious, and it's so sinister, that you will think that you will have a whole person in front of you pouring out their heart and telling you that things want to change, but that's part of the programming too. Deception is definitely part of the programming. The only thing that I recognize is sincerity and wholeheartedness. Um, but it those things can definitely be mimicked. I mean, you think that crying, a woman crying and completely in tears, and she really doesn't mean it is anything. Nah, it's a whole lot worse than that. I mean, there are people out here who really believe that the programming that they've uptaken is them. They believe that. They believe that that is them. It's not true at all. And you know, um, I was telling my submissive, because she was having a few qualms with some of the principles that I'm teaching her, because that's the thing. That's what I do. For the people who are close to me. This is the reason why I've had a lot of failed relationships. No, well, not a lot, but this is the reason why I have had failed relationships in my past, because I didn't understand what I was and what I was doing. I'm here to assist with the deprogramming of the programs. And I was doing that to the women that I was with, and they would react very viscerally. They turn into complete monsters that I didn't understand why it was happening. But I didn't understand that I was doing that. I was rooting them of their traumas. I was rooting them of their systematic pathologies. I was rooting them of their dysfunction. I had no idea. All I wanted to do was to see them do better. But that's part of it. And part of doing better, you have to recognize that you're doing bad. And a lot of people think that the way that they are is good when it's not, when compared to what you're supposed to be. Um, but you know, that's what I do now. And my submissive, she is not too reluctant to um, get rid of her programming. She doesn't want to really do that. But as she understands that it is cognitively necessary for her to do that, because that's the difference. When you have a pathology that's in you, but you perpetuate it, it's almost like a crackhead smoking crack. They know that crack is bad for them, but they keep smoking it because it gives them some type of some sick fix of satiation. That's what they get addicted to. Once again, the program hijacks your natural existence, just like drugs do. It's no different. She doesn't want to let it go because she's so used to her trauma. She understands that her trauma is the prevalency of her life. Her dysfunction is the prevalency of her life. She understands that that is where she feels comfortable. Getting rid of trauma is a very traumatic thing in itself. It is painful. It doesn't feel good. That's the reason why I'm here talking to you, because that's what I went through. It's nothing pleasant about it. You know, Satiation, instant gratification, these things feel good for a reason, because they're meant to lull you back to sleep into your dysfunction so you can continue to do all this fuck shit that generates power for the system that created the program in the first place. So anyway, I don't want to make this too long. I'm going to read a couple comments. You guys got any questions? Um, we can go over those, and then I'm going to call it a day because I had a few things I need to do. So let's go back up. What's good, BJ? Good to see you. Let's go back up. Let's see. Most live their lives on autopilot. Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's autopilot. It says, Gamer Guru says, doing what society wants rather than what they want. Yep. It says there was a excuse me, an 8 hour. I'm so small on the screen. An 8 hour panel trying to conflate SYSBM with dating white women. White women, yeah, that's exactly what TMT said. It's good, BJ. Of course, again. Let's go back up. Uh, you can't unring the bell, definitely. But and unringing the bell, um, you can't. But you can create another bell to not ring at all. And people will fall for it. People will fall for it. The system is a huge morphologist. It's been around for a long time. Like I said, I don't know the origin of where it comes from, but it it's no coincidence. And I'm thinking it may be biological, um, but I'm not sure. I have to think more on it. That sounds a little crazy, but I don't want to. I don't want to sound crazy, but I'm gonna have to think more on it. Um, He said, I find that keeping a strong moral base and being somewhat um, contrarian helps when dealing with the toxic programming we receive daily from mainstream society. Yeah, I don't watch TV. I don't have cable. I mean, but that's kind of like a social trend. But I limit what I watch even on YouTube. I limit the music I listen to. I don't listen to any radio music. Um, when I go out in places, I get in, get what I want, and I get out. I don't really browse around the store or nothing like that. to buy senseless stuff. Um, I have a game plan for how I choose to attack or address the public when I go out. And I know that it's programming everywhere I go. So I keep my mind conscious. I do things physically constantly to keep my consciousness high. And a lot of people think it's strange, but that's the only thing that I've come up with to combat being lulled to sleep is to physically do something. So I've created a system to do such. I hope this doesn't sound crazy, you guys. Like this guy's probably losing his shit, but no, really, it's that deep, man. I swear. Um, uh, BJ says the programming goes deep. Yep, sure does. It's all the way to the bone, man. It's crazy. David Marone says the system is us. It's you, me, and them. Not really, not really, because the pathology is passed on by us. We are not the ones who created it. You have to really think about that. You have to watch what you say too. Because if you don't rationally understand why you said what you said, I know some people be like, yeah, I thought about it, but no, no, no. Really think about it. Really think about it. Really dive deep in the reasons why you say and do some of the things that you do. I mean, really dive deep. When it comes down to, I don't know, smoking cigarettes to drinking to going to clubs, whatever, it doesn't even necessarily have to be any bad thing. Why are you going to the gym? Are you doing it because you want social acceptance? Or are you doing it because you see a health benefit behind it? I mean, really, really, everything that you do, everything. We are not the ones who created the system. Because none of this, how do I know that for sure? How do I know that? Because we don't directly benefit from it. That's why. We don't directly benefit from our community being in the way that it is. We don't. The larger society benefits from that. But even they are programmed. And I don't know where it's going to. Maybe a World Bank or, who knows? I mean because this all generates money. This all generates power. This all generates a system built on falsehoods. It all perpetuates that. I don't know how far up or how far down it goes, but we are not the ones who created the system because we are not the ones who benefit from the program. So, um, says gynocentrism. Gynocentrism is a huge part of the program. People push gynocentrism without even knowing it. Yes, they have no idea. That's the reason why I tell you guys to stop using those terminologies that these gynocentric people use, because don't talk to them in their language. Use your words. Use your words, because that's your help perpetuating the program by talking to them in a way that they can understand. Now you need to talk to these motherfuckers how you see fit, not how they see fit. Because who's controlling the narrative? Words are very powerful. They're important. They have the ability to mold a context without actually having to see anything. So be careful about how and what kind of words you use, because you may be signaling to them that you're still asleep, you know, and that's the reason why when you use certain words and certain terminologies that they have not adopted, they react the way that they do because they want to snuff it out. They recognize that it's almost like I gave my submissive the analogy of, have you ever seen those zombie movies where there'll be like a large populace who got affected by the zombies, so like they're zombies, and then there are like a few people who aren't zombies, and they do something to mimic them being zombies so they can get through the zombie horde. Yeah, that's what these motherfuckers are like. They are waiting for you to do something that is outside of your character of a zombie, and they will attack you. That's what happens. That's what happens every single time. This is a horde of zombie people who are um, after you to snuff you and put you back to sleep. If they can't put you back to sleep, they'll destroy you. That's what they intend to do. But anyway, gynocentrism teaches women they are perfect, and that anyone who points out a flaw in women is a misogynist. This is correct. I've also had this conversation with my submissive. She is of the firm belief that if you are not forthcoming with information that she wants to hear, that if you are not telling, um, and this is a working process. I don't get perfect submissives, so I'm not gonna lie. She understands that she's got some fucked up shit about her, and we are working on it. And I use my punishment and reward system very acutely. But anyway, she believes that if you are not telling her what she wants to hear, then it is a complete lie. Even if you say nothing, you are being dishonest if you don't say anything, right? That's weird. That's programming because it doesn't serve her. No answer that I can completely lie to her, and she like long as it's what she wants to hear, she'll take it. So it's programming. She doesn't understand how silly. I mean, consciously she understands how silly that is, but she gets lulled when she goes back into the world. She gets lulled back to sleep, and she doesn't recognize it until she comes back to me, and I bring her back out of it. So it's a constant in and out process. Like I said, being a dominant is not an easy job. It's not an easy job, especially if your submissives are women. It's not an easy job. But anyway, let's see. The name is Protagonist says, I cannot thank this community enough for bringing that word gynocentrism to the lexicon and how it plays out in the cultural programming of both the plantation and modern black society. He goes on to say, where was it? Oh, yeah, gynocentrism. Michael West says, the true problem, the mother of all the problems. Very, very much so. Gamer Guru says, the only group worried about not dating white women is gynocentric black females, racists, and worker bee simps. That is true. Um, the nameless protagonist says, well, the programming goes back to why white supremacy created the subroutine. Concubine execute kicks off when the white women get brought up as they generate syntax errors. I agree with that. Um, Gamer Guru says, I don't even own a TV. I have a monitor for games and play on PC and laptops. TV is a huge no-no for me. Yes. David Monroe says, I say that because we are born into it. It's something most of us have to wake up to. But yeah, that's the reason why I say that. That's why I say that we didn't create the program. We definitely are born into it. That's why I brought up the whole doll experiment thing of where, these 5, 4, 5, 6, and 7 year olds were inherently telling, the people who were asking about the dolls that this doll is bad and that doll is good based on skin color. How are they so programmed at that young of an age? Because the parents passed it on to them. Just as no different that white people pass on sentiments of supremacy into their children. It's no different that black people pass on sentiments of being less than to their children. It's a pathology that is passed on from generation to generation, but we did not create it. We didn't create it. We just perpetuated this all. Um, but Nameless Protagonist says, yep, busy telling a television. I'm good. Dallas Cowboy says, what else? It was good up, Dallas. Gamer Guru says, being born into something doesn't mean you create it. Yes, I can be born into slavery. That doesn't mean I am a slave master. Yep. Nameless Protagonist says, the object in motion stays in motion until a greater force acts upon it. That's correct. SYSBM is in hell of a force. That is true. The red pill is a hell of a force, Kendra says. I call it bespeak, or my new term, the Strags English. That is funny. Gamer Guru says the funny thing is Matrix stems from matter, which means mother. Yeah, I found that out too. Uh, uh, the nameless prophet says, "Scrum excuse, haha, reading the codex." Kendra says, sometimes people are weird. I know a person that thinks other people are dishonest if they don't divulge all parts of their lives to them. I think it's weird because if it's not relevant, why say it? That's what I say. If it's not conducive to actually figuring out a solution, or it is tangible to your reality, I don't need to know it. Like I called her, you one of them You one of them. I need to know the price in tea, the price of tea in China, motherfuckers. For what? Why you need to know the price of tea in China? Why? uh, Say I'm a Scorpio and I support this message. Thank you. Billy Jeff says, "Is your beef with Nicole Michelle over yet?" Stop trolling. um, Nicole Michelle, I talked about her before, and I've said that chick was trash. She is definitely a troll. Don't pay the trolls any. Don't pay them. Don't pay them any mind. Give them 2 lines and tell them fuck your message and move on. Seriously, that's what I say. Um, Call them a troll. Call them every name that you can think of. Pull a Grinch on their ass. Call them a swallow foot fucking gorilla neck motherfucker, and call them and tell them suck a dick and fuck your message and roll the fuck out. That's what I say. Um, D. Stu says, crazy how the Matrix plays a huge role in paradigms, uh, and the way people perceive themselves in this world. Perception is. So I was having a conversation. Just a little side note. I was having a conversation about reality, and it goes back to a video that I made earlier called "My Reality, Your Reality, Our Reality." There's another reality, and there's the larger reality. So there are 4 different planes of reality that are out there. What I mean by the larger reality is the universe itself. We don't know what's going on at the end of the universe, and exact as what we can see is going on in our rooms right now. So therefore, even though we are part of the larger reality, we are not privy to everything that goes on in large reality, which can sometimes not give us the information. So that's that. And then we are privy to our reality. This is a collective reality that we all share, meaning that yes, it's a collective reality that we all share, kind of like how we are all here listening to this stream as I spell it out, but we see things differently because of it. It's almost like the 2 people that have a 6 in between them as they face each other. One sees a 6, the other sees a 9, but it doesn't make any less of their truth from their perception. Um, and then you have uh, the the second person reality. Second person reality is the reality that you experience with a person next to you. Kind of like the people with the 6 and the 9. It's a smaller version of the our reality existence. Um, the 2 person existence is, like I said, this is just a different perspective looking at the same thing. And then you have your individual reality. This is, believe it or not, this is the largest reality that you will ever experience in your life. It's larger than any reality that exists actually, like the universe itself, because you can't see the universe. You can only see what your reality is. Even though there's a larger reality out there, you can't experience it. You can only experience your reality. That's why a lot of things are so skewed, because we talk in such a contextual form that our differences in agreement are simply a difference in reality. That's it. But anyway, that yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that. um, Scientists found out that there is some kind of intellect behind all of what we see as real, and that the material, universe is literally only about 4 or 5% reality. The rest is beyond comprehension. Yep, exactly what I said. Um, Spiritual holy men have pointed this out 1,000 years ago. Yep. The name is protagonist. In the story I'm working on, one of the characters, Inner Demons, makes the argument: how arrogant are you? As a dimensional being, place limitations on reality by virtue of your perspective. Mm. Gamer Guru says the old tribes always said that the God is unknowledgeable, meaning that we cannot comprehend the Father wholly. I agree with that. And that's why I focus on my reality. That's why I'm not really worried about what anybody else says. I don't care about what's really going on in the world. Sure, things matter, but I have a larger reality to maintain. Can't live in fantasy world forever. David Monroe says those are the most interesting subjects to me. What's objectively true? What is the essence of things? Yep. That's why I taken a liking into sussing out programming. Because there's a truth, and then there's things that look like the truth. So that's why I'm here. But anyways, I'm gonna close the stream down. It's been an hour. It's a long stream. Nobody's gonna watch it. But anyways, I appreciate you all coming through. May you have a good day, and peace be with you.